Murder or suicide? This is the true crime story I cannot stop thinking about. It's January 26, 2011, and Sam Goldberg walks to the front door of his apartment after finishing up a 30-minute workout. He's surprised to learn that he's been locked out of the apartment by a swing lock, which, like you see him in hotels a lot, can only be locked from the inside. Figuring his fiancée, 27-year-old Ellen Greenberg, has to be inside, he starts knocking for her to let him in. But Ellen never comes to the door, so after 30 minutes, Sam decides to kick the door just enough to break the lock and let himself in. He walks in to find Ellen lying in the kitchen, on her back, in a pool of her own blood, not breathing. Immediately, he calls 911 and tells dispatch the same thing. I don't know what happened. I found her lying in the kitchen, on her back, in her own blood, and she's not breathing. 3 minutes into the call, when dispatch is telling him to start CPR, he shouts out, "Oh my God, there's a knife sticking out of her heart. She stabbed herself." Come to find out, Ellen had been stabbed in the back of the neck, the chest, and the head 20 times. Police arrive, and because Sam had told them that nobody had tried to break in and Ellen didn't have any defensive wounds on her body, they did not process the apartment as a crime scene. So they transport Ellen's body to the medical examiner's office, where they rule her death homicide. But the very next day, Philadelphia police come forward saying that the death is not a homicide, and in fact, they're ruling it a suicide. Look at this diagram. Who could possibly have done this to themselves? And even if you wanted to end your own life, why do all this? Doesn't make any sense. But because the ME was feeling pressure from the police, he changed the manner of death to suicide, and the case was closed. But Ellen's parents are like, yeah, not so much. And they hire their own group of investigators, and the facts start coming out about the case, which are mind-blowing. We learn that some of the stab wounds to Ellen's head penetrated her brain. So there was absolutely no way she would have been able to continue stabbing herself had she hit her brain. Same thing with the neck wounds. She penetrated her spinal cord. So again, there is no way, even if she had done this to herself, once she hit her spinal cord, there is no way she'd be able to continue stabbing herself. The forensic investigator that was hired said she would have, quote, severe pain, cranial nerve dysfunction, and traumatic brain injury. We also learned that some of the stab wounds had no hemorrhaging, no bleeding, which means that she was deceased when she was stabbed in that particular spot. Then, of course, there's the non-scientific things that point away from suicide, like Sam's bizarre 911 call and why it took him nearly 3 minutes to tell dispatch that there was a knife sticking out of her chest, even though she was found on her back. Or also super strange, the day after Ellen's death, Sam went into the apartment and took out all the electronics. In 2019, Ellen's parents filed a civil suit against the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office, asking that they update Ellen's manner of death from suicide to either homicide or undetermined. Beside all the facts that we now know from the team that they hired, we also know that there is equipment available now that wasn't available back in 2011, which they say can definitively prove there is no way she could physically have done this to herself. If you're interested in helping, there is a petition on change.org, which will hopefully get Ellen the justice she deserves.